Welcome to the Turning Lemons into Lemonade podcast. Each week, your host, Amy Mewborn, business strategist and advisor, will bring you the stories of how successful women entrepreneurs turn their tragedies into triumphs to create the businesses that are changing the world today. And now, your host, Amy Mewborn.
Jessica Valor is an inspirational speaker, healer, and mentor who delivers her programs to thousands of women every year on the topics of conscious leadership, intuitive intelligence, and personal development. Being extremely passionate about helping the world heal and giving individuals and businesses tools they need to be powerful leaders who are confident, resilient, and connected, Jessica not only offers an empowering presentation, she also provides programs and services to further support integration of her message in a way that transforms lives and businesses that achieve everlasting positive results. Welcome, Miss Jessica Valor. Tell us a little bit about how you got started in your business.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. I'm happy to be here. And yes, so I got started in my business as a mentor, healer, and speaker back in 2014. And I had a near-death experience actually in 2011. And that really catalyzed me into this deep spiritual study and choice to then create a business and serve fully my purpose. And then in 2014, I was actually still the vice president of a medical company, and I decided to quit that toxic career and leap fully into serving in this business now.
Wow. So first of all, you just said that you had a near-death experience, and that's what brought you here. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So my best friend actually passed away. And when I found out about that, it actually led me down a dark depression road and into an experience where I attempted to end my own life. And in that experience, I actually had this near-death experience, and I met with these angels and ascended masters at source in heaven. It was kind of like a meeting a board of directors, but ceremonial, if you will. And they each came forward and gifted me with part of their essence. And they asked me to come back and share their prophecies and their healing gifts with the world. And so when I woke up, it took me, I was still in a deep grief. And so it took me a couple of, maybe 2 months for everything started integrating, and I started remembering everything. And then I chose to embrace the gifts that I had received, because it was kind of like God flipped on a light switch, 2 months after that experience, and like, boom, now all of a sudden I was always clairvoyant, but not at this level. And all of a sudden, I'm seeing sacred geometric patterns in the sky and how everything's connected and hearing all the voices. And so I had to really either, accept my gifts, kind of like the story of Moses, there's the burning bush, and I walked hand in hand with Moses for years in faith, or I had, or I was crazy, right? And so, and a lot of people did think I was crazy, and that's okay. But I chose to embody my essence in those gifts and go into deep spiritual study and learn, what was being given to me. And then I've created a business out of it. I've always been very strategic. I'm a Taurus. I'm very grounded. So having something like that happen for me was really a catalyst. And so I'm very like 50% soul and 50% strategy. So I created a business to help female entrepreneurs embody their sacred essence and own their power so they can really show up and share their gifts. And I really believe that we're all here to help the world heal. I believe we all embody the archetype healer right now. And what's beautiful for me is watching that come alive in every person, and seeing us all do what we came to do is a really special time to be here.
You just said so many different things that I don't even know where to begin in terms of going back to unpack a little bit of that. First of all, you just described, I think, something that people that are spiritual, Christian, Jewish, any number of religions, there's always this perception that
that miracles and prophecies and all those things stopped in the past and that they don't exist anymore. And I completely disagree. And it seems to me like the way you just described that, I mean, you have taken spirituality as a whole and integrated it into a lot of very biblical principles and teaching. How on earth did that come about?
So I'm actually not religious at all. And what's shown to me is that religion is man-made, and that really, you know, we're all, if you look at the common denominator of all human beings, it's compassion, it's love. And, you know, that's even what separates us from the animal kingdom. And gosh, there's that guy that did the movie, I think it's called I Am. Yeah, he did all the like Ace Ventura movies. Anyway, he has this great documentary that kind of talks about he went around the world. He had a spiritual experience, and he went around the world and interviewed all these gurus, and kind of came down to this like compassion as that common denominator and what really separates us. And so, you know, at the end of the day, it's like you're in your vehicle, I'm in my vehicle. They're different colors. We have different tools. We're all going to the same mountaintop. And when we get there, we don't need any of that stuff anymore. And so your perspective and whatever your religion is, even if it's love is your religion, it's your ritual and relief to get to the top of the mountain, and no one's wrong and no one's right. And so whatever you need to be in your own perspective, as long as it's operating from love, not fear, then that's what's good for you, right? And maybe even sometimes when you're operating in fear, it's returning you back to love. It's teaching you to return back to that state of alignment so that it's easier for you, right? We all came here choosing certain lessons, right? And then there's also free will. Once your feet hit the ground, everybody's got free will. So it's this really interesting playground, if you will, of the light, the darkness, and all of that. But at the end of the day, it's really like we're all here to ascend our energy and evolve our soul, and to hopefully give back and share our essence and leave the legacy that we did choose before we came here. Before you incarnate, you do choose, I want to go to earth and contribute this, and I want to experience this. And then other things happen while you're here. So hopefully that we do fulfill part of our own prophecy and purpose. Because when you cross over, you just look at your life like a movie reel, and you see everything that you accomplished and experienced, and you decide from there what you want to do next, right? You're eternal. So there's so much power in that, like, this is the present moment. There's nothing else happening ever except us right here, right? Mm-hmm. And there's so much power in that. If people could really embody the breath, like you're literally involuntarily breathing right now. I mean, you got to think about that. Like, that's pretty magnificent. And there's all these little things that I feel like we get in our humanness, and we get so sidetracked from the reality of our omnipresence. And what's so deeply important and rooting in here. And, you know, for me, I'm a Taurus, I'm hard-headed. I mean, I had a near-death experience to go through my own awakening. So I understand, you know, I've made all the mistakes, and I've gotten my way, and I've gotten in my own way in all the ways. And, you know, so it's all a journey, and it's freeing yourself of the judgments and the sufferings, and, you know, and also inviting it all in, right? You can't live on earth and never experience pain. You know, that's kind of part of the process. So I think once we choose to embrace all of our wholeness, then everything really gets into alignment. You know what I mean?
So had we had this conversation probably 6 months ago, I would be looking at you saying, I have no idea what you're talking about. Yeah. And I still don't know that I would say I'm the most spiritual person in the world. I do consider myself to be a religious person. But I've kind of been on this journey with meditation. I'm a tremendously high stress person. And so one of my business coaches really encouraged a lot of us to take a step back into meditation and really experience the moment. and you said something about fear and love. And so I want to come back to that, because one of the things that I've been learning about myself is that my mind is often thinking about the future, frequently in fear. You know, what if this happens? What if this happens? And my husband always jokes. He's like, how often does all of the stuff that you just created in your head ever happen? And it's like less than 1% of the time. But my life prior was finance, and our entire motto was, you prepare for the worst, and if something good happens, you work it in. And I've learned that that's a really bad motto for life. So tell us a little bit more about operating in a place of fear versus love.
Well, so in our old paradigm on Earth, which I'm sure everyone's familiar that there's been a massive shift in the way that we think, operate, exist, our state of being. In the old paradigm, it was all fear-based, and it was like you save all your pennies, and you know, you just do the grind, and there's this ever hacking away, and this is fear. And that's even derived from, if you look at the original, like, you know, if you go all the way back, like religion was really created to control masses of people through the church. And, you know, it's a deeper conversation. But there was all sorts of things taken out of the Bible and about Jesus's real and true prophecies. And because Jesus is a healer. And he says, in my presence, you are healed. But what he was teaching us was that we are all in that capability. We're all children of God, right? And we all have the capability to be in that vibration, which is unconditional love, right? In that presence, you're healed. And so I think what we've been doing for thousands and thousands of years is raising our consciousness here and realizing, dissolving the doubt, dissolving the fear, and everything must be recycled because it's energy, right? We're made of energy. It must be recycled back to love. It must be healed and recycled all the way back to love. So I think that we're just unwinding and unlocking this old paradigm. And I think we're doing it very quickly now. You know, we've gone through that awakening process, and we've even ascended, you know, our energy to a higher space, where now we're going, we don't have to feel bad all the time and live in fear and do things this negative, heavy, dark, dense way. We can do it from the space of enlightenment and freedom and joy and peace and prosperity, which is truly God's wisdom and God's love. And why would you live in this perspective when you can live in this one that's aligned with freedom? And it doesn't matter, like, if you are a Christian or Judaism, or you study a Bible, or whatever you study, as long as it's bringing you closer to God and closer to love and expanding your energy, that's perfect for you, because that's your way of doing things, and your way of doing things is beautiful. That's why we need you on the planet, right? Because no one else can be you. That's your essence. So
love that. So tell us about the worst day that you had in your business. And I know that yours is kind of how you started your business. So take us back to that day.
Yes. So I actually ran a medical gas business for, six and a half years, and, you know, kind of ground up. It was my ex-fiance's business. We moved it to Minnesota, and I worked the 80-hour week, slaved away, grew it from ground up to about $4 million in revenues a year, you know. Yeah. Was superwoman, all in my masculine energy, slaving, selling my soul to that business because I wanted to, you know. And then I went through this near-death experience in 2011, and I still ran his company while I was also in deep spiritual immersion and study. So I was doing both. At that point, I finally had a couple of assistants. So, you know, I wasn't working 80, maybe I was working 70, 60 hours a week. And then spending the rest of my downtime in this study. And then the environment, because I shifted my energy, the environment became more and more toxic. But it actually got worse, but it was already really bad. And so I was at my desk. I had the office in my own home, and it was a really bad situation with a lot of insubordination with the employees, and some pretty toxic stuff going on. And I left to run an errand. And I remember pulling my car over to a parking lot, and the owner, was yelling at me. I mean, I would get screamed at work every day because of this control thing going on. And I remember I said, I quit. And I said something else, and then I said, I quit. And then I got out of my car and I sat in this parking lot, got on my knees and was like, what am I going to do? And I was just like bawling my eyes out. And then I went back to my house and my office, and my assistants were in my office at my home. And I had told him, I was like, you ripped the office out of my house like today. And I remember thinking for a moment, well, I should go back just for a year. I'll just go back for a year. And then, from there, I will be able to transition accordingly and, safely, because you're leaving like a 6-figure income and then walking straight into all of that. So, anyhow, I had this angel come to me in the area by my desk and wrap his wings around me and whisper in my ear. He said, don't turn around. And I said, okay. And I just trusted. And it was the hardest decision I've ever made in my life, because being a single woman, having no money and, no income coming in, and I had my severance agreement taken. I mean, I was basically screwed out of about $500,000. It was what it was, but I had to leave that business and serve in my purpose. And I'm stubborn, so it had to be almost like ripped away from me too. And trust. Do you know what I mean? And then I lost everything. Like, I lost my house. I lost most of my belongings. It was this like bulldozing up leveling of everything I'd worked for and completely starting me over fresh, like with a clean slate.
That is so courageous. I don't even know what to say. I mean, because I think any of us that were in corporate know that feeling of feeling like we're being constricted, or things aren't working, or, that a change has to be made. But to literally go and just in the spur of the moment, quit, not look back, not turn back, and just to keep moving forward. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So how long did it take you to get the new business up and running? And how did you know that was kind of the direction you were supposed to go?
Well, I already knew it was the direction that I was supposed to go, because, you think 2011 to 2014, right? So for a few years, I'd already been in this deep spiritual journey, and I knew that this was going to be my life work already. So that I'd already had discovered. And then I was divinely led every step of the way. It wasn't easy. It wasn't always easy. And I committed to that. And I had a small severance agreement. It was like $50,000 to live off of. But I decided to do something that I actually don't advise other people to do. I had to write my book, which is not in the world, but I had to write my own memoir, like to heal these other wounds, to be able to help other women heal their wounds. And so I went through that first, and then I was led. Like, I attended Gabby Bernstein's Spirit Junkie Masterclass, and I gained hundreds of clients, from going to an event, right? And so again, God was leading me every step of the way. And then I had spiritual running buddies, and then you just show up and you do the work. Like, it isn't always easy, and you commit to the online or the local, whatever your jam is, and you just go all in. And that's what I did. And I've constantly taken all of the money that I make and put it right back into my business. And I didn't have like a life partner or a ton of money, or like, $100,000 in credit cards to throw at my business. So to me, it's taken me a little bit longer than it's all about your own individual experience and wherever you are, and creating a strategic plan of action that is safe for you, that is also spiritually aligned. And I think that's just different for everybody. My experience is like wacky out there. It's not like, it's not even come close to anyone's story that I've, my own clients that I help or anything. So I think you honor wherever you are and you decide what you want to do. Yeah. Because people get stuck on purpose. Your purpose is being you. That's embodying your essence. Mm-hmm. How you want to do it is what you need to figure out, mm-hmm. and what that clear message is. It's not even so much as like your specific niched avatar. Like it's more about like, what is your message and how do you want to share it? What makes you feel good? And then let's create that strategy and roadmap it out, right? You're that's all financials, right? It's really easy. The hard part is figuring out, what is my message and how do I want to share it? I think that's like one of the harder parts. And then committing to following, maybe even the commitment is the hardest part, because, you're committing to like this long journey of it. So sure. I think that's a big piece.
So for someone who is spiritual, you also are very strategic. And it's obvious that comes across in this entire conversation. So tell me, for a woman that was getting ready to launch a business or was trying to make a step up into the next level of her business, what are some of the biggest strategies that you would encourage her to investigate or to be moving forward? And I know that every business is different. I mean, if you're building a business online, it's way different than if you're building a business locally in your community. What would you say some of the top strategies or resources have been in you growing your business?
Well, I think that my professional opinion is kind of two things. We'll talk, like the spiritual side of things is that you've got to cure your own doubt, because if you doubt yourself, then you're going to be distracted. And so when you can cure your own doubt, you can deny all distractions. And when you deny all distractions, this is one of my alchemy processes. When you deny all distractions, you become very clear in what you're available for and not available for. And then you get in alignment with your commitments and how you're going to show up every day. That's the scheduling. That's the spiritual integration. And one of the things that really irritates me in the spiritual world is like, first of all, there's a lot of shaming going on. There's a lot of perfection shaming going on. And there's all these tools. Like I'm even looking around my office now. I have like all the tools, right? Here's the thing. We actually don't need any of them, right? I love them. They're great. They're wonderful, right? But we don't actually need any of them. And what happens is people grab for things outside of themselves without actually taking, say, this particular book or this particular card reading or whatever it is, this coaching session, and integrating the true value into your actual life or business. I think that's a big piece, and that's just 50% spiritual side. And then on the business strategy side, absolutely, you have to invest in yourself and you have to get someone else's eyes on your business. You cannot catch all your blind spots. It will slow you down. And I understand that's not always everybody's, opportunity, but find a way, find a scholarship or save your money. Maybe you need to wait to hire the right business coach and mentor. And before you hire a business coach and mentor or consultant, make sure you do your homework, because there are a lot of coaches out there that promise the world and don't deliver. So you want to make sure that you're working with a mentor or a coach that is in alignment with your values and priorities and is really showing you like, this is how we're going to do things. And I think that is the most important part. Had I not had, the right coaches and mentors along the way, because I went from running a major business, even though it was a small business, still a major business, to going into the online world, which is a completely different experience. Yeah. So, I mean, I had to learn like a million things, but it served me because I knew all these other things about business that I brought to the online world. Right. And now even in the online world, I'm like, gosh, I wish I knew these things because it would have helped my other business run a lot easier. So you have to commit. And those would be my two biggest pieces of advice is really believe in yourself. And then you have to invest in yourself. It's not about money, but you're not going to get that far if you're sitting around like worrying about things and swimming in doubt and feeling bad about yourself, or you don't actually know how you're going to, like, you punch it in the GPS, but you don't know all the turns, right? And how to get there. You need help. And if you think you can do it alone, well, good luck. It's going to be really hard. So
I love that you say that, because I so agree. I tell about when I launched my first fitness studio, and the first year we made over $75,000 worth of mistakes that I could actually put my finger on and say, oh man, we really messed that up, or oh, we really messed that up. And it wasn't until probably about the end of my second year in business when I got my first business coach. And it's amazing how just having someone else with their eyes on your business, someone to pick up the phone or to get with face to face and really look at ideas and what's going on and get some direct feedback. It makes all the difference in the world. And that is all of a sudden when my business just completely took off. So I totally get it.
I agree. It's absolutely not, and this is even when you're, when you have a business and you really are looking at the longevity of it, like you want to build a business that like you're going to sell it, right? Even though you're never going to sell it. And, I'm still doing that, right? And I've been in business for a few years, but I love Scott Olford. I don't know if you know who he is.
Yeah.
I follow him online. I love Scott. I love Libby. And so, he just did a post today, like, about like how much money, you really have to make the impact, and he broke it all down. It was really, really powerful. And you do need to build your business that like you are going to get to a place where you're making this, $250,000 a year because this, and this can happen. And I think like a lot of people have really great ideas and they have really beautiful hearts, but they miss the strategy, or people have all this strategy and then they're missing the other piece. And so you really have to have like the whole picture, and you have to be patient, right? And again, that's the commitment. Like, what are you really truly committed to? Because not everybody is meant to be an entrepreneur. They're just not. They're just not.
I completely agree. I never thought I was meant to be an entrepreneur. I came from an entire family of employees. I was the first person to ever leave a really steady, amazing business job. And I always joke that my mom went on blood pressure medicine about the time I became an entrepreneur, because she was so worried that, we were going to be okay. And the thing about being an entrepreneur is some days are amazing, some days are not so amazing, and you have got to be able to push through the bad days and create more good days. And, it can be the most fulfilling thing you ever do, but you have to basically prepare yourself for the fact that it's not always going to be easy. Because I think a lot of people look at it and they're like, well, I'll get to be my own boss. Well, that's great, but the buck stops with you. If there's no money coming in, or if you're not out prospecting, or you're not creating your Facebook ads, or you're not paying someone to do those things, then it's not getting done and the money stops coming in. So, the thing about being an entrepreneur is it can be a blessing, it can be a curse, but you own it, whether it's good or bad.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I was definitely born an entrepreneur. My mom used to say that when I came out of the womb, I wanted my own apartment, so I've definitely always been like, in my own world, because I'm conscious content creator. Like, I like to create. And so I need freedom to do that. I don't do well underneath. I do well with consulting and guidance and mentorship, but not like being put in a box. That's just not my jam. And so I need a lot of freedom in that. And yeah, I think again, it's like the commitments and the boundaries and, just knowing that, and people will just jump. I think, there's a lot there. We used to be, I think it's softened a bit now, but a few years ago, there was all this like, quit your day job and jump into your purpose. And I'm like, oh, well, hold on a minute. Like, that's not everybody's story. Like, what are you talking about? And look what happened to the coaching industry. The coaching industry is $1 billion industry, but people can't like pay their bills. And they're very intelligent, credentialed humans, women, men, and you can't always just shift gears. You have to, again, have that strategy and know what you really want, because you could have a corporate job but still coach people on the side, or whatever that passion is, and still it's your, I don't even like the word side hustle, because it's all part of this whole experience you're having. But maybe you want to do both. I think people get that FOMO, that fear of missing out, when it's really just about how your beautiful essence and how you want to experience this world. And like, slow down, right? Like, slow down for a minute and let's really look at what banks you want to deposit energy, love, and money into, right? And
love it.
And how you want to bring that forward. Yeah.
So what would you say the number one business book, conference, or resource that you've had in your business that has helped you grow to where you are today?
Number one, gosh, that is so hard for me. There's so
tell
many
me your top couple, but tell us a couple that you feel like have really impacted the trajectory of your business.
So I model my business development after Glennon Doyle Melton, because she's an author of a book called Love Warrior, and I'm not a mom. I have a puppy in my lap, so I'm a pup mama, but I don't have any human babies. But she has 3 children, and she wrote this beautiful book about her journey, and then she went through, her marriage, and they went through divorce and all the problems they had. And she's telling her personal story, and it's called Momastery. And she created this whole platform, blogging around it for years. And but she wrote this book called Love Warrior. I'm looking up at it, and it's about her journey, and it really, really opened my soul up. Even though my experiences were completely different from her, it was about her commitment and changing the conversation in the world and how to do that. And so she has built a business that has a foundation called Together Rising. And her and her husband ended up divorcing, and she married, gosh, I can't remember her name right now, but this female soccer player, and they all co-parent together, and they just have this wonderful dynamic. And it's about consciousness, really, and showing up and healing and doing the work from that space of love and not judgment. And she's an activist. So I'm growing my business so that I can have a foundation called Team Love to be able to really heal the world, right? We're really here to change things. And I think all businesses moving forward, once you're at that sustainable space, or I also see enterprises being created that there's like, say you're a part of Team Love, you don't have your own foundation, but you're donating, $50 every month, and you get to use that media for your own business, right? Because we are here to make a big difference and to change things. And so she's one of my top inspires. And then, like, I'm a huge Scott Wolford fan. I think like his methods are top notch. I've watched him turn people's businesses around really, really powerfully, very quickly, taking them to next levels in a way that's really seems aligned. And his partner, Libby Crow, I love her so much, and she's, on the exact same page. So there's some of my favorite people, I think. Yeah.
Love it. Well, Scott, I mean, anyone that is an entrepreneur sees Scott in their newsfeed, because I think that guy has just mastered Facebook ads. And the thing that I love, love, love about Scott's stuff is he is the epitome of authentic.
Yeah.
He shows up and he tells the good with the bad. And, again, just kind of really, I think, shows the world that you can be a tremendous entrepreneur, but you really do have to show up and be yourself, because we all have a tribe, or there's a tribe waiting for us if we will just show up and do what it is we're supposed to do. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think I've always been a huge fan of the word and the state of being of omnipresence, and he uses that. And so I was like, I'm a shoo-in, because I love that. And I also, I'm really focused on media. So I love Selena Sue as well. She's one of my mentors, and I work with her. And so there's so many amazing people out there, depending on like what you want to focus on in your business specifically.
Sure. And I think something that all listeners need to know is that, a business coach maybe is a good fit for you at some point in your business, but depending on where you want your business to go over the next 6 months or the next year, that's really where I think you need to be looking for your next coach, because I found that my first few years in business, I wanted a general coach, but now that I'm a little bit more established, I'm again often looking to like Selena Sue or Chris Winfield for my publicity sides. And, I look to Rick Mulready for Facebook ads. And, there's just so many different places that I go for the specific pieces of information that I need at that moment in my business.
Exactly. And remember, people, that you can only do one thing at a time. Like, for example, this year I committed to my publicity and also my speaking. So like I work with Selena Sue, and I also work with Chantel Adams for my speech styling and speaker coaching. And that all helps your messaging. So I'm kind of doing two things at once, plus running my business, but I don't have a family to care for either. So just, so that's still a lot. Do you know what I'm saying at once? So just know, like, do you want to focus on, speaking this year, or do you want to focus on getting into media, or do you want to focus on building your package and, just making money and clients, or, what is your thing that you want to do right now?
Sure.
And definitely investing wisely with your energy and resources.
Love it. So where can our listeners find you? We'll have all the links in the show notes, but I do like to get it out at least once in audio for anyone that's driving or on the treadmill. Where can they find you?
Yeah, so it's super easy. It's my name, jessicavalor.com. And I have an entire resource that's a library of all sorts of alchemy resources. And you can always, I do a free consultation with anyone the first time. So if they, to determine if I'm a good fit to work with you or not. And I know a lot of people. So if I'm not, then I can probably refer you to someone who is. So yeah, that's where you can find me. And you go to my Facebook and my Instagram from there. And that's where I hang out a lot.
Perfect. Well, Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing your story so authentically. And we look forward to connecting again soon.
Yes. Thanks for having me.
In today's episode, we talked about masterminds and mentors. So if you would like our free checklist on questions to ask before joining a mastermind, please go to the show notes at lemonadepodcast.com.
Thank you for listening to Turning Lemons into Lemonade, where women go for support and encouragement to hear how other women business owners turn their setbacks into successes to create 6- and 7-figure businesses. We look forward to seeing you next week.